We've talked about credit. We've talked about savings. We've talked about how you can reduce your own stupid consumer spending decisions. Well, let's just wrap all of that stuff up. And everybody loves a good old top 10 list. And you know what's better than a top 10 list? A top 11 list, because it's 10% more than 10, right? Yeah, we like to do numbers over here sometimes. Ugh, and terrible, terrible jokes. So let's just move on. Top 11 financial mistakes that cost you. Yeah, okay. Cost you what? Time, money, resources? Because a man's greatest value is his time. So if you can go ahead and reduce that, that'd be great. Hopefully that's what you mean by cost. You probably already know the three biggest mistakes that most people make: not having a budget, carrying large credit card debt, and not saving for retirement. I would say paying the most taxes without exploiting and using the tax codes that are available to you in order to deduct and make your assets work hard for you instead of just expending so much on liabilities. Large credit card debt, yeah, specifically, but large consumer debt in general is terrible. And having not having a budget, yeah, that one I can't take any issue with. But saving for retirement, come on now, let's be completely honest. When you're 65, 70, 75 at this point in time, okay, whatever you're saving right now, if you're of similar age bracket as I am, 32. Yeah, I'm 32. It's 2022 still, for whatever reason. You understand that the money that you're putting in there right now, chances are that your traditional savings accounts, your RRSPs in Canada, your 401ks in the United States, the amount of interest that you're going to be gaining on top of that isn't going to be able to beat out inflation. So your traditional means and methods of saving for retirement ain't gonna work. So anyways, let's see if they have new things that are on here. Okay, financial mistakes that cost you. Knowing these financial pitfalls can lead to a more stable life and help you plan for retirement. Yeah, stable's boring, and stable people, they live a great life. Great life just eking out and barely overperforming inflationary numbers, and then they just go on and they have a little nest egg for the next generation that's out there, so that the next person can just trudge on with these old order ideas. Okay, get a safe job, get a secure job. Okay, don't put your money in anything risky instead of understanding assets and liabilities and income and expenses. Okay, instead of understanding a traditional balance sheet. No, what you should do is just buy a home. That's going to be your biggest asset. Okay. But anyways, the first one that they have here, yeah, buying that shiny new vehicle. Yeah, because they immediately depreciate in value, outside of a couple of rare exceptions where you can use your vehicle strictly as a business asset and you can write it off as a tax liability, or if it's of a certain weight and you can write it off because of the depreciation value that's on top of that. Okay, buying a sports car, just flexing and showing off your drip and all that stuff, that's a childish maneuver that will lead you to nothing but financial ruin. That's just what it is. Car payments are insidious. They erode your monthly income. Buying a new vehicle instead of a used vehicle costs you more than you think. Yeah, and even a used vehicle, as opposed to just keeping the one that you have and maintaining that one, you're not really winning out there. The average new vehicle ticket in 2022 is inching up to $50,000. Yeah, and don't worry, you all have to switch over to electric vehicles because that's the way of the future for 2035, I think, for the United States, at least in California, because they're going to be getting rid of combustion engines, which is, yeah, that's smart. Especially in Europe, I think their initiative is 2030 because you will own nothing and you will like it. But anyways, in contrast, although prices are high, a used vehicle will generally run you $34,000. That's a big difference. Yeah, it's about $16,000. Just a little math off the top. But even still, you buy one at $34,000, it immediately loses how much value? Like, what's the colloquial term that's out there? You drive something off of the lot and it immediately loses 50% of its value, 25% of its value the moment that you take it off the lot. It's like, that's what happens with liabilities, okay? They don't retain their value. You can't, sublease them. You can't put them to work for you. So why spend that much money on it, okay? Buy a bike and a heater and a good coat. No, most people are borrowing to pay these new vehicles, or at the same time, they never actually pay them off. That's why leasing is probably the smartest thing that you can do for a reasonable vehicle, but that's another topic for another time. But even still, yeah, bright, shiny new vehicle in order to just flex or to try to pick up hoes, as it were, because you're stupid and you think that immediately leading with your wallet will somehow, lead to a long-lasting relationship, oy vey, check in with the main page because I got more to say on that, but I won't over here. Okay. Number 2, buying too big of a house. Well, some would argue even buying a house at all. Living space per person has doubled since 1973, 40 years ago. An average house had 1,000 feet less square footage than in 2022. Square footage went from an average of 1,660 to 2,679, but the family size has decreased. The square footage costs on purchasing a large home. The question is, do you need all this space? I do love a big house, but then at the same time, I also understand the financial situation that I find myself in, and I'd also like to set myself up appropriately for later in my life, or even by later, I mean like weeks later in my life, but using my financial resources more appropriately instead of buying that sprawling mansion out in the middle of nowhere that I would love and want, like a compound for myself where I could have just a giant gym on the same on the same residential field. Oh man, I get so, I get it. Heaven help me if I ever get successful, because oh boy, I would just disappear off the face of the earth and then just have helicopter travel from, my compound in the middle of nowhere to wherever I want to go. Oh man, never let me get successful. But yes, purchasing a large home, you need all the space because not only you're paying a mortgage, paying the heat to cool those big houses. Yeah, joke's on you. I live in northern Alberta. You barely have a heat bill. Well, actually, it gets awfully cold, but you can just, buy blankets, and I would say 5% of the houses actually have central air conditioning, and it can get to 30, 40 degrees, no problem during the summer for extended periods of time. So yeah, whatever. Staying in a big house. What are you talking about? Dovetailing onto buying too big of a house, keeping a large house. Oh, once you retire and become an empty nester, do you really need 4 bedrooms? Well, if it's all paid off, why would you? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. If you still have a mortgage, there's probably a big payment to contend with. Yeah, that makes sense because a lot of people do 30, 40, 50-year mortgages because they're stupid and they love paying for an asset that'll never appreciate. But if you own your home outright, and there's still taxes and high utility bills, consider downsizing. Yes, of course. And then paying and lining somebody else's pockets for what? Are you going to move into an apartment building or something like that and then pay a HOA fee and then also, just a rent and line the pockets of the guy who actually owns the place instead of having your own place, maybe subletting it or something like that, making your asset, turning your house into an actual asset and making it, pay you and work for you in some form or fashion. Just out of the box thinking here for a second. Not teaching children about finance. Yeah, you should be shot if you're a parent and you don't teach your kid financial literacy in today's day and age, because all of those old order ideas that you have that you think that, just to save for a rainy day and put money away for your retirement, and yes, don't have too much consumer debt. Some of those are pretty decent ideas, and yeah, of course, that would have worked if this was 100 years ago, but we're in the age of now. And it's only likely to get worse and more complicated into the future. So you should be giving your kids a leg up on this type of stuff. This is a long-term mistake. Children who understand how credit cards work will be less likely to accumulate revolving debt, but also need help understanding saving and investing. Yes, invest in mutual fund. Well, not mutual funds. So it should be the S&P 500 index funds that are out there. Okay. Because they are going to overperform every one of those financial gurus that are out there. I'll tell you how to invest your funds. I'll put it in a mutual fund that my financial institution set up, and it'll perform admirably, but it'll very rarely ever outperform the S&P 500. So you can just start your own I forget all that names of the fund, like a Vanguard fund, okay, even Robinhood before they went all stupid and stuff like that, and then you can invest some money in the S&P 500, and then you can listen to people a lot more smarter than me, or from that other fraud that just got taken down when it comes to cryptocurrency, okay? That's the way of the future. NFTs, not so much, but crypto is here to stay regardless. If you have some floofy-haired tard get taken down in the process, that is going to be around for a long old time. Stocks, they're still going to, do whatever, but if you like 5% return on your money year over year, yeah, it's better than just putting your money in like the 401k system or anything like that, but you're not really making your money do the most that it can, as opposed to putting it in real estate or even cryptocurrency. But hey man, do whatever you like, but you should be educating yourself, and if you have children, of course, making sure that they aren't set up for failure. Paying for college with retirement savings. People do that, huh? Wow, that's stupid. You love your child and you don't want to be saddled with a long-term debt. So instead, just make it longer-term debt by remortgaging your home and then putting a huge note on the end of that just gets amortized into a decades-long burden that you're eventually going to pass on to your kid. Okay, cool. There's a nest egg sitting there, and it seems easy for some of it to pay it off and pay for college. But do you think about your future? No, you should just continue to be under your thumb so your kid can go to school for 4 years and then come back with a useless degree and then have to live in your house at the same time. Congratulations, you remortgaged your house and now you just have another worthless roommate who's just going to tell you how bad it is to be white. Anyways, overpaying for investment fees. All right, investment fees can whittle away your returns. Fees are accepted as a way of life, but is the only way to analyze how much you're paying. It may be time to look around. Yeah, and again, if you're going to be investing in the stock market, don't pay, like a financial planner or anything like that. S&P 500. It hasn't failed. There's only outlier examples, like even Warren Buffett picking stocks doesn't outperform the S&P 500. I'm just saying, man, that's pretty stable, okay? But as for crypto guys, their returns on the people who actually know the sphere, not the guys who run those, like scam accounts on every YouTube channel, which YouTube doesn't give a crap about actually getting rid of, but needs to make sure that you never talk, glowingly about ivermectin. Oh my gosh. Remember, guys, it's just horse paste or whatever. It actually doesn't have, medical basis and hasn't been well researched. And the guy who, discovered it and applied it appropriately didn't get awarded the Nobel Prize of Medicine or anything like that. Whatever. So yeah, investment fees are stupid and they're just, eventually going to start eating into your returns. Spending is greater than income. Oh, right. Oh, spending more than what you make. Yeah, no, that's just stupid. That is basic stuff that pretty much everybody knows. You pay more than what you actually take in, then you're setting yourself up for failure. Here's an obvious one. You spend more than you take in. It's all done in time. Because of revolving credits, you may be buying not only the extras, but milk and butter with it. Yeah, of course. That's why a budget comes into place. Know how much you're making every month, how much you need to put away, all of your theoretical dry powder to reinvest into, actual assets that are going to be out there instead of just spending it away. Oh boy, I want a new TV that's going to completely depreciate in value in the next coming weeks or months after you purchase it. Or I want a brand new car, so I need to just go ahead and save because I've always wanted a Lamborghini. Stupid. Not having an emergency fund, setting aside 6 months to a year of savings, that's what you should always have, because that's what, if anything goes sideways, like say, I don't know, maybe the world shuts down because of, I feel ill. If we have to go through that stuff again, okay, who could have seen 2020 coming? But I know a lot of people that were actually set up for it, just saying. Not having an emergency fund could bankrupt you. In 2021, 32% of Americans claimed that they had not saved enough to handle a $400 emergency. Yeah, that is buck wild, and the amount is a low end of most emergencies. The results is that you could force you to use credit cards and increase revolving debt, of course. So instead, use the pay yourself first method. 10 to 25% of your income should be set aside. Should be, of course. Your mileage may vary, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but that's normally just basic ass financial advice. Set aside a portion of what you make in order to recycle that into investments that will appreciate and create you money. Make your money work for you instead of you working for your money. Failing to monitor credit scores. Yeah, exactly. Because if somebody's leeching, if you've been a victim of identity fraud, if you don't catch it, nobody's going to inform you on that one. All of a sudden, you think that you have like an 800 credit score, and then you go to mycreditscore.com and you check in, and it's like 630, huh? Wow. It was what? And what do I have, a $20,000 loan that's on? What do I have, multiple? Oh no, what happened there? You should always keep on top of that stuff if you want to be. If you want to be credit ready, monitor your credit score. The main reason is to see how your spending affects your score. Taking out that credit card, buying a home, overextending your credit all have an effect. Fraudulent activity can also be detected quickly if you're monitoring the score. Because again, Equifax and the different reporting firms aren't going to tell you a goddamn thing about that, okay? It took a whistleblower to come forward to say that Equifax, that is one of the reporting firms that's out there, and I think it's international because I know it's in Canada and in the United States. A whistleblower had to come forward with the fact that a lot of confidential information, this was years ago, ended up getting leaked out there because they weren't going to say anything about it, okay? Because they don't even tell you. They don't even give you an update. You have to go in there and ask. You have to apply to see what your credit is. It's one of those secret scores that, the banks know all about, and we know who runs the banks. Thanks, Kanye. Ultimately, you'll keep yourself credit ready if you monitor your score. Yes, use retirement to pay debt. Yeah, most of this stuff just ends up, translating to don't use your, savings to just pay off a bunch of superfluous consumer debt that's out there. That's good advice, okay? Don't dig into the stuff that compromises what your assets could be making ultimately for your income. Long story short, don't be paying off bad debts for something that's going to ultimately, like if you have $5,000 worth of debt, okay, and they have $5,000 that you take from your investments, that $5,000 could have been put forward to something that would ultimately return $7,500 in a year's time. So at the end of the day, that $5,000 debt ended up costing you, 50% more because you weren't smart with your money to begin with. And then number 11, paying the wrong debt first. Yeah, some of that debt that's out there, if you let it amortize for a long enough period of time, it actually reflects better on your credit, and therefore you can take out longer lines of credit in order to properly invest. You can properly use debt in order to leverage a better credit score, and therefore purchase more assets, put more assets into your balance sheet, and make those work for you so that you don't have to continue to work for your money, okay? So paying off the wrong debt first, yeah. Consumer debt, bad, terrible. But low interest loans, ooh, you just need to wait a minute on that, okay? Now, some people will try to pay their low interest mortgage off early. The best course of action is to pay high interest debt. Yeah, of course, pay the debt that is affecting your credit score first. Analyze what debt is hurting you the most and establish a plan if need be. Consolidate. Yeah, exactly, because high interest debt, consumer debt, credit card debt that's out there, that's going to negatively affect your score. Anything over 30% of your credit limit, okay, on a credit card score is going to negatively impact your overall credit score because the credit firms consider that line of credit overextended. That is high, or rather highly vulnerable debt that's out there because a lot of people default on credit cards, okay? And then they start to see that history of just high credit, and then they think that they're never going to see that money again. Sure, they'll continue to tax you and then, just accumulate interest, compound interest on top of that. And eventually they're going to get their money in one way or another because the system's, got to replenish itself. But that's why that reflects so poorly on you, as opposed to a car note, mortgage note, the secured line of credit from the banks, business loans, all that type of stuff. That stuff is actually good for you. That shows that you are capable of repaying a loan that's out there consistently, month over month, year over year. Then these businesses, the banks and all of that, are more likely to deal with you because you have established history of keeping low, high volatility debt at bay, no consumer debt, and a good history of managing your productive debt that's out there. Get it? Recognize financial pitfalls. Many of these mistakes are fixable and can be avoided. Yeah, of course, all of them ultimately can be, okay? You just need to know what the pitfalls are, not to step back in them, okay? And then just avoid the minefield that is the financial playground. Monitoring a credit score and investment fees takes some time, but each is simple to do. The tough one may be not taking money out of your retirement to pay for college or moving out of the family home. Take time to evaluate where you are and adjust according to your needs. Exactly. Get out from under the thumb of consumer debt first and foremost. Set some money aside. And then once you have that accomplished, then guess what? The world is your oyster and you can move on to much more complex topics than this. This is just a nice base level interpretation of what is the right way to go about managing your finances as opposed to what, frankly, everybody else does that's out there. And do you want to be like everybody else, or do you want to be rich and successful in life? Your choice, ultimately. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.